You have the power of choice, the power of selection, the power of awareness. And she's saying, because this is different, it's not just about you and where you're at in your life. The environment we're in is different. The literal water we're in is different. So you can't say, well, for years, this is how I've operated, and now that's going to still work. You're going to find yourself more sensitive and having to make different choices than you have in the past, is what I'm being shown. Hello everyone, welcome to Soul Weather, your mid-month energy check-in. I'm Dany Lyne. I'm an intuitive, and for the last 20 years, I've been co-creating wellness and aligned manifestation with folks worldwide, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. In this series, I'm going to tap us into the main energy through line so that we can alchemize the expansions and the contractions of the life force into our sacred flow. Join my YouTube channel to get your mid-month energy check-in. Good morning, good evening, and welcome to the January edition of Soul Weather, and on a full moon, no less. At least in Bali, it's already full moon ceremony in full swing this morning with all the incense and everybody dressed up. So lots of energy even in just the last few days, but definitely since the solstice. And I am channeling the whale again today. And so the whale seems to have stepped in as a spirit animal, as the spokesperson of the water element lately in our transmissions. So I'm greeted by that energy. I was greeted by that energy very strongly this morning in meditation. So I think I'm just gonna go and do my thing and start channeling. So give me a sec. So whether you've heard the last few transmissions on Soul Weather or within the Energy Collective, I'll tune you into the whale's message, and it'll work for you guys who are hopping in for the first time into this particular sequence of transmissions. Let's just say that the whale is saying, well, we've talked a lot about the necessity right now to orchestrate a daily rhythm, which includes time on the surface and time in the depths. So just like a whale, you would cruise along in the depths, but invariably at some point you do have to go to the surface and breathe. And this is a very unusual rhythm for the water element. It's very active. And it's a daily deep dive as opposed to a deep dive for 3 months. And we're being told that ultimately there's something about this water season also in its unique expression is that we are on a migration. So the whale medicine is coming in as a teacher because, as you know, whales migrate incredible thousands of miles in their different territories in terms of giving birth, raising their young, going back to feeding sites with their young, etc. It's the landscape of a whale is not only deep in the depths of the ocean, but broad on the surface of the earth as well. So we're being shown that whatever's going on for us, it's large. The landscape that you're meeting in your life, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, is vast. So very different, right, than that cozy, often womb feeling that we get during this season. And this morning she was making me laugh because she was saying, and if you think you can go through this season without getting wet, forget it. You're getting wet. So whether you're hanging onto a surfboard, whether you're on your sailboat, whatever it is you're doing in the ocean, you are going to get wet. And that sense of a full-bodied presence with what is and what is presenting in your life. Don't be scared. This is not a time to decide, I'm not going to get wet, right? I'm going to sit over there and wait this out and just, every once in a while dip in a toe. There's a sense of the energy that you're going to get wet regardless, so you might as well embrace it. And the thing that she was showing me this morning is that, whales are really powerful. She was showing me how fast she could swim. And I was with her on the surface, going faster than any boat I can imagine going. And so with that, we meet, right, that thing of the compressed timelines that we're talking about and the speed at which things are unfolding. But she says, when you're caught up with the speed, don't forget me. Don't forget your strength and your power. And this is why the deep dives are so important, because that's where you're going to remember who you really are and what resources you really have, so that you're not getting lost in the surface, white water and the wind and the changing landscape on the shore. So about the white water, because if you're going that fast on the surface, right, you can imagine it's splashing, there's all kinds of waves, your eyes are blinking because you're, opening and closing. It's, it's very active. If you think also of swimming at the surface of the water, you're breaking the water, right? There's this interaction which creates some disruption in the water itself. And she's saying the thing to really, it's like practicing your stroke. When you don't know how to swim very well, you splash a lot more than when you actually know how to swim well. And when you don't know how to swim well, you also expend a lot more energy than when you practice your stroke, right? The whole thing about learning how to swim is learning a stroke that's going to be efficient and is going to give you that glide factor on the surface. And the thing is to keep harnessing that capacity to improve your stroke and to improve your capacity for smooth sailing, even though there might be waves or wind or storm at the surface. So she's saying right now, be careful to not add too much white water to your narratives. So she's saying when you meet challenges, when you meet bumps in the road, small and large, when you meet opportunities to turn left versus turning right, she says try to really stay focused on the stroke and conserving energy and gracefully moving through the tumultuous waters, however they're presenting. So in other words, stories that amplify drama are really not going to serve you. They never do, but they really won't serve you at this time. You're going to lose energy and you're going to blow your wad for nothing. And then you won't have, because a migration here, we're talking about a momentum that's going to last 2-3 months. So this is more long distance swimming strategy and marathon strategy. So if you're getting into sprint mode and you're starting to flail and you think, I'm going to get rid of this one problem, and you go into, 5th gear to do it, you're just blowing your wad. Keep staying in 2nd gear, like going up a hill. And that's what's going to get you through this next few months. It being full moon, I'm also aware, even though I'm not an astrologer, I'm definitely aware that water is, of course, very influenced by the moon and the gravitational pulls and all of that. But we're also talking, I think, about pretty busy skies. So I think that whatever our astrological orientation is and where we're oriented within these planets and the forces and how those forces influence us, I think there's a lot of action. I think we're in high action regardless, wherever we look. So that's part of it as well. But just know that from my point of view, elementally, the high action I'm being shown is definitely serving us. I don't feel like the world is going to hell in a handbasket, in other words. I'm not feeling any sort of pessimism about the world. I think the point is to realize the power we have within our own lives and the power we have to make change in the world. So I think that here what we need to understand is the whale is presenting as a heroic figure, as an example of how to embody a large landscape and a large ethos within which just the whale is just having a baby and trying to raise her baby, right? But then it's huge, the plot of that. And how it then manifests is so, it's the magnitude of it is just so awe-inspiring. And so I think that it's that in us is we need to, the whale is presenting today very strongly as a hero. And I think we need to remember the humans who are embodying that kind of stamina that a life, if one is dedicating to a cause or is dedicating to a sense of service and is really hoping to not only feel better personally, but also connect with others, we're being shown that we have more available to us to meet all of that beauty and all of that capacity for transformation, for transcendence, and for successful projects. You know, there are people in the Amazon making a difference. There are people in India making a huge difference in terms of innovative farming techniques and preserving seeds. There are people all around the world doing amazing things, including these amazing whales and mammals who are operating at a very, very high frequency and are doing amazing work as healers in terms of our planetary vibration as well. So the whale says, as a hero, I'm not only talking about what that looks like in the material sense and the physical sense, but at the energetic and vibrational levels as well. So when we're saying do not underestimate your personal power and your capacity for sovereignty and your capacity for accountability and for engagement in the world, we're also speaking about that energetically, so that at a vibrational level, you can, it's like a pebble in the water. You can send one signal and trust that that signal will keep getting larger and larger and larger. And in all those rings, more and more people will be nourished by what you've put in the world, but also it's vice versa. So she's reminding me of what she was calling about the highway that was very busy. I think that was in the Energy Collective. And she's saying, in a sense, these highways where people are traveling between their dream realms, between their capacity to connect and intuitively connect with, you could say, almost the fascia of the energy of the world, The whale is saying, today is saying it in the language of the pebble and the rings that it produces in the water. And we're all caught up in each other's rings. And the point is, when you throw it into the water, are you throwing out an energy that's positive and will support others? Or are you in some way creating more havoc? So there's a sense here of responsibility with what you're throwing in the water. And just know that if you're aligning with your genius, if you're aligning with your capacity for compassion and engagement with all living beings on the planet, that will be felt, not just in the tangibles of what you're doing, but in what you're emitting, even in your thoughts and in your heart. We were also being told in the energy collective that the veil is thin right now. And what I'm seeing in the way the whale is communicating, if you think about all these rings that everybody is producing with every gesture, every thought, every intention, is we are in a time where it doesn't take that much to actually really start feeling at a vibrational level what's actually happening around you. There's a sensitivity is what I'm being shown. So even for people who might have not had their intuition very open, this is a time where a lot of intuition is going to open for a lot more people. And so as a result, the whale is saying, because you're going to be so sensitive vibrationally, it becomes that much more important for you to be aware of what you're exposing yourself to. And that's going to be media influences where there's violence or whatever. I don't think that any of that can be really taken lightly in terms of how information is being shared. And if fear is the primary energy that drives it, which then is all about control, it gets really tricky. So the whale is saying that we are, in that sense, in that sensitivity to oral content and visual content. We are also then, because the veil is thin, we're much more likely to receive messages from ancestors, from spirit animals, from ascended masters, from whatever your bandwidth is. In my case, the elements, for instance, and whatnot. So we're much more likely to be open to messages. So in that sensitivity, while there's amazing celebration in that and opportunity, there's also, we all need to then manage a bit our environment so that we're not blasting our system with something negative or something that's too much that day. And in that sense, that's how we're cultivating the womb aspect of the water. So in a sense, even though you're going on the surface and you're going in the depths and you're on a migration and there's going to be storms, there's what the whale is saying, you have a lot that you can, in a sense, control by virtue of choices you're making every day. You have the power of choice, the power of selection, the power of awareness. And she's saying, because this is different, it's not just about you and where you're at in your life. The environment we're in is different. The literal water we're in is different. So you can't say, well, for years, this is how I've operated, and now that's going to still work. You're going to find yourself more sensitive and having to make different choices than you have in the past, is what I'm being shown. To attune to the possibilities of the moment, which if not manage what I'm seeing with a kind of awareness, can become overwhelming and destabilize your system. And this can even be recorded music. You know, you might need less music in the house than you've had in the past, for instance, right? These kinds of subtle choices so that your environment can support you at this time in these particular conditions and in this particular era. And she says the more you do that, which comes back to the message of every day being on the surface and every day going to the depths and creating new daily habits. She's saying the more you do that, the more you're going to benefit from intuitive messaging and guidance that's really, really going to support you in all the aspects of your life. You know, whether it's parenting, whether it's collaborations at work, whether it's your own writing project, whatever it is, the more you gain that sense of awareness and make different choices at this time, the more wisdom is going to be available to you. So the rewards, it's like a big bang for your buck, basically. If you make those changes right now, you're getting a lot in return. It's not going to be abstract and like in 3 months, maybe. You're going to feel it. And then you're going to ride that joy and ride that rhythm. So, it's the feedback loop is short, basically. But that, you know, you can say that if something is negative, it's going to, the feedback loop is short for that too. So it's just keeping that in mind. And that's what the whale is talking about in terms of we're all going to get wet. We're all wet in this season. So it's kind of funny because I'm going on a kayaking trip to Tasmania and I just had to buy all the wetsuit gear because the water there is cold. So it's like I'm going to be in the water, I'm going to be wet, but I have all the gear, right? So I'll have the gloves, the booties, the whole thing, 3 layers, 4th layer for the wind. I'm ready. So it's that kind of spirit. And with that, it's not like, oh, there's all this danger coming ahead and we have to be fearful and then we have to hunker down for the big storm. It's not that kind of energy. It's snowing, you get dressed, you go out and you enjoy the snow. You're in it. And with that, there's a kind of openness and an expansiveness in your spirit that's going to emerge. We've run into this before in the last few years, and it was mostly the element of wood, and that would be in the spring, in the northern hemisphere, March 21st to June 21st, where there's so much energy that you could confuse that energy for anxiety or tension. And because this is the water element, we're talking about your stress, your whole endocrine system, your reproductive organs, your brain, your kidneys. That is the system we're in. So when there's more energy in that system, there can be a tendency, especially if you go in with the drama stories and everything, and you go in with excess negative media or whatever, you're going to have a more activated nervous system because the system is already highly charged. So the trick there is, I think that's where it's a different way of talking about the management, is that in that system, there's more energy. It doesn't have to then tip over to the stress hormones. So if you feel yourself tipping over, know that you have the power to say, hey, wait a minute. Where is this coming from? Is this really stress in the conventional sense of stress and whatever the story is for stress in your life? Or is it that I'm mistaking the power of the life force for stress and then taking it down a path that is just habitual rather than embracing the surge of life force and energy that's there to encourage you to meet the power of whale medicine? I mean, you can imagine, right? If you're a whale and you're on a mission to go from Mexico to the North Arctic Sea, you know, you're a gal on a mission. You know, there's going to be life force in that whale, right? But it doesn't mean the whale is panicking or stressed out, but she's pumped. She has a sense of purpose, and there's a sense of the mission, of the migration. And so don't confuse the energy that's there for you to be on that migration and to be on that mission with an old story of stress. I know I've had to change how I eat really radically to meet this energy. You know, there's that level of management to be able to be and ride the waves, so to speak, that's part of it. What are you eating? How much sugar are you eating? How much caffeine are you taking in? You might need a lot less caffeine than usual because the energy is strong. So it's letting your body adjust to the surge, basically, but then ride the surge at a marathon level, energy conservation with as little peaks and valleys as possible. In that sense, healing in those organs and a reprogramming of our amygdala is definitely in the cards. Because if you think that if the water teacher is here, that's those aspects of our being within the brain, the whole endocrine system, the lymphatic system. I mean, we're mostly water, right? So it's a global approach, but this is a time where you can have the capacity to really shift your nervous system. And it's reminding me of a message that's come through in the last few transmissions, is we're basically learning how to embrace a migration and embrace a marathon without survival mechanisms kicking in. Like, how do we thrive in the migration? How do we thrive in a marathon? And how do we thrive when the life force is so strong? And how do basically we ride it? So the water season is here until March 21st. And in traditional Chinese medicine, we're moving into the fire horse year on February 17th. This is massive. And so a lot of, if you're interested in that, you can easily look up what your animal is for the year you were born and the element. This is key. So that then you get to see how you're interacting with the fire horse. I think that's a really juicy way of getting to a bit of a sense of where you're at and where your assets are and where the potential downfalls are. So in riding with the whale right now, I think that it's interesting that the whale is going up and down and up and down when we're actually moving toward a fire horse energy. So it's the wildest horse and element and animal in the traditional Chinese system. So if you're familiar with that, it's like we've got quite a thing coming. So between the planets doing their thing and the fire horse doing its thing, the whale is saying, trust me, be like me, embrace your heroic whale within you, and you're going to be going through this. It's for your own growth and expression. This is about you being present and engaged in your life at this juncture. So ageism out the window here, and sexism and all the isms and any ceilings that you have and limitations that you have, those are all up for grab here. So if you think I'm this age and this is where I'm at and the blah, 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 like all of that is, forget it. You're just here, do your whale thing, embrace the fire horse, embrace and get wet and be in it and enjoy it, because there's a lot of joy here. The energy is very effervescent. There's a lot of hope. And there's a lot of personal power and a lot of people aligning with their sovereignty who are being accountable. And look for them, celebrate them, and celebrate that in yourself as well. Namaste. Woo.